Every 10 minutes, a child dies in Yemen due to preventable causes exacerbated by war, famine, and disease. This harrowing statistic barely scratches the surface of the devastation wrought by nearly a decade of conflict. Yemen, already teetering on the edge of collapse, now finds itself entangled in a larger regional power struggle. Recent Houthi missile and drone strikes on Israel, followed by retaliatory airstrikes by the United States and the United Kingdom on Yemen, have escalated tensions to a new and dangerous level. These developments are not just isolated events but part of a broader pattern of instability that threatens to engulf the Middle East. The Yemeni conflict is one of the world's most devastating and complex crises. Over 21 million people, two-thirds of the population, rely on humanitarian aid to survive. Half of Yemen's healthcare facilities are non-functional, and more than 2 million children suffer from acute malnutrition. This is the backdrop against which the recent escalation unfolds. The Houthi movement, which controls large swaths of Yemen, launched its boldest attack yet by targeting Israel with missiles and drones. The strikes, claimed by the Houthis to be an act of solidarity with Palestine amidst the Israel-Gaza conflict, have shocked observers and marked a significant escalation in their military strategy. The attack on Israel represents a dangerous turning point. For years, the Houthis military operations were primarily confined to Yemen and Saudi Arabia, focusing on their struggle against the Saudi-led coalition. By striking Israel, the Houthis have effectively extended the scope of their conflict to a broader regional stage, aligning themselves more visibly with Iran's anti-Israel stance. Israeli officials have condemned the attacks, emphasizing that their response will be swift and decisive. For Israel, this new front poses an additional challenge as it deals with the ongoing conflict in Gaza. In response to the Houthi strikes, the United States and the United Kingdom conducted coordinated airstrikes on Houthi-controlled regions in Yemen. These strikes, according to official statements, were aimed at crippling the Houthis' capacity to launch further attacks and protecting regional allies. However, the airstrikes have drawn sharp criticism for their impact on civilians. In a country already devastated by war, these military actions risk worsening the humanitarian catastrophe. Residential areas, vital infrastructure, and already scarce resources have become collateral damage in this escalating conflict. To understand the gravity of these events, it's essential to delve into the historical roots of Yemen's crisis. The conflict began in 2014 when the Houthi movement seized control of the capital, Sana'a, and much of northern Yemen. This prompted a Saudi-led coalition, supported by the United States and the United Kingdom, to intervene militarily in 2015. What initially seemed like a localized civil war quickly evolved into a proxy battle between regional powers, with Iran backing the Houthis and Saudi Arabia leading a coalition of Sunni-majority nations. Over the years, the war has created a stalemate, with neither side able to secure a decisive victory. The recent Houthi attacks on Israel highlight the growing influence of Iranian-backed groups in the region. Iran's strategic support for the Houthis includes weaponry, training, and political backing, allowing the group to expand its reach and capabilities. This escalation raises questions about Tehran's broader regional ambitions and the potential for further conflict between Iran and its adversaries, including the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. The airstrikes conducted by the United States and the United Kingdom have not only deepened Yemen's misery but also sparked international controversy. Critics argue that these strikes violate international law and exacerbate the suffering of Yemen's civilian population. The bombings have displaced thousands of families, destroyed homes, and disrupted essential services. For Yemeni civilians, this escalation feels like a continuation of a war that has already taken everything from them: homes, loved ones, and the hope for a better future. The global response to these events has been polarized. Western allies have defended their actions as necessary to prevent further Houthi aggression, while nations like Russia and China have called for de-escalation and dialogue. The United Nations has issued dire warnings, emphasizing that Yemen's humanitarian crisis could spiral further out of control. Protests have erupted worldwide, with demonstrators condemning the violence and calling for an immediate end to hostilities. Meanwhile, international aid organizations are struggling to deliver assistance to those most in need, hampered by the conflict and logistical challenges. Amid this turmoil, the humanitarian toll continues to mount. Millions of Yemenis are on the brink of starvation, with food prices soaring and aid deliveries dwindling. The destruction of infrastructure has made access to clean water and medical care almost impossible in some areas. Children, who make up a significant portion of the population, are particularly vulnerable. Malnutrition, preventable diseases, and trauma from years of war have left an entire generation scarred. The implications of this escalation extend far beyond Yemen and Israel. The Middle East, already a tinderbox of political and sectarian tensions, risks descending into a broader regional war. The involvement of major powers like the United States and the United Kingdom adds another layer of complexity, increasing the likelihood of a prolonged and more destructive conflict. At the same time, how this newfound boldness in targeting Israel could encourage other Iranian-backed groups in the region to take similar actions, further destabilizing the region. As the world watches these events unfold, the stakes couldn't be higher. Yemen's crisis is no longer just a national tragedy, it is a global issue with far-reaching consequences. The international community must act decisively to address the humanitarian needs of the Yemeni people while working towards a political solution to the conflict. Diplomatic efforts, rather than military actions, are the only way to bring lasting peace to the region and prevent further loss of life. In the face of such immense suffering, it is crucial to remember the human stories behind the headlines. Each statistic represents a life, a child, a parent, a family, struggling to survive against impossible odds. The question now is whether the world will rise to the challenge of alleviating their suffering or allow Yemen to remain a forgotten battleground in a larger geopolitical struggle. What are your thoughts on this escalating crisis? Share your views in the comments below. And if you're interested in understanding more about the conflicts shaping our world, don't forget to watch our next video. Let's continue this journey for truth and awareness.